Okay, hello everybody. My name is Adari. I'm going to be your mentor for today's HTML camp. Welcome back. We're on HTML camp 9 now, and it's nice seeing you guys again. But anyways, let's get started. So for today's topic, as you probably saw in the title, we are focusing on HTML5. So at the beginning of the course, I talked about how HTML5 is the latest and greatest version of HTML, but we didn't actually go on to talk about what made HTML5 different from other versions of HTML, and also what was just newly added in HTML5 as well. So that's going to be our main focus for today's camp, and if we breeze by that really fast, I also have some bonus things we can cover. With that being said, let's get started. So if you have any questions throughout this entire presentation, or camp, I guess you could call it, you can ask them through chat and I'll be sure to respond to them. And yeah, so HTML5, once again, in case if you weren't there for the first camp, HTML5 is the latest version of HTML. It has that 5 at the end. So usually we just call it HTML because we're addressing HTML5. So we have some categories and where new things were added in HTML5. So we had new page structure added. We had new form input types. We just had some new elements in general. We had the Doctype declaration, and we also had the removal of some elements. So we're familiar with the Doctype declaration already. Remember we put it at the top of our code before even the HTML tag. And we also just remember what it's used for. So it just specifies the rules for that language itself so that web browsers can display the content correctly. And yeah, so this is what it looks like. So before in the past, it actually used to look a lot more complicated. You had to put more info in your Doctype declaration. But now in HTML5, it's been simplified to just be this. And I'll try to pull up something maybe that'll show the old Doctype declaration. So HTML4. So yeah, besides that, there are other things that are also added. I'm just loading up what the old Doctype declaration looked like for you. Okay, yeah, this looks good. So I'm just gonna drag this over here. And yeah, so this is what it looks like in HTML5. Remember, it's just this Doctype declaration I'll see in a bit. So it looks like in HTML5, familiar with that. But in the past, like other versions, older versions of HTML here, we can see like HTML 4.01 used to look like this. It was just a lot longer and you had to put a lot more info inside it. But yeah, once again, now it's a lot simpler. Okay, moving back to the presentation. Yeah, so that's Doctype declaration and it was updated in HTML5. So now we have new page structure in HTML. So HTML5, unlike other versions, it now more properly recognizes that pages usually have like a structure. It's becoming more and more common that we see that common structure as well. We might even recognize it without even knowing. Most web pages, they have a navigation bar at the top, so you can navigate to different parts of the site. Usually the logo's up there too, and maybe just some header links so you can easily get to main parts of the site. A lot of web pages as well have footers. So if you scroll all the way down, usually, not on all websites, of course, because some websites break this rule, but if you scroll all the way down of a website, usually you can usually see like maybe a different shaded color area and it has maybe contact information or maybe work related information. And yeah, and besides that, they just have sections of web pages as well. Web pages are divided into sections usually. And yeah, and they have headers, they have footers, they have a navigation section. They have a lot of components, and HTML5 recognizes this. So with this, they have some basically tags to support this element. So yeah, so that's pretty useful. So we're actually going to be looking into using this and how we can go about using them in today's camp. But yeah, so there are new tags we can talk about. I think we've talked about the nav tag, but we haven't talked about header, footer, article, aside, and section. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so this is kind of what it looks like with all those tags put together. So I already told you, like the header is just like the top. The nav can be inside the header because it's going to be at the top usually, and that's like, once again, it just contains like stuff like the branding, the logo, and it can also contain stuff like the header tags for other main parts of the website. The nav, you remember that contains navigational link to the sections of the site. We have article now, which is just basically saying main web page content. And in there, you would have sections for each thing in your article. So maybe, for example, the main content of that page could be let's say it's a recipe on how to cook a cake. And that's possible maybe in these different sections. Or actually, let me make a better example. Maybe this web page main content, what's in your article is maybe like a title for cooking cake. So that's just the entire section itself. And then now you'd have individual sections for each type of cake you're going to talk about. So maybe you're going to talk about chocolate cakes in one section. You're going to talk about cheesecakes in another section, and all different types of cakes. Aside. So aside, that one you also see it, but maybe you don't see it as often. Aside, it contains extra information and it can also kind of be used like for navigational links as well. But it's pretty much kind of like what it says aside. It's usually at the side of the page, so like left or right. Footer. So once again, that can contain anything. It's usually like stuff like copyright, privacy policy, terms of use, like contact information, and etc. So let me see if I can find a good example of this on a website we probably all use. Just give me a second, please. Let's see. Let me check out another website. I'll check out yahoo.com. This might be a little bit hard because think about these web pages. They all have navigation bars, but the thing about it is they have like infinite scrollers. They keep scrolling down because they keep adding. It keeps searching for more content to show. Anyways, we'll look at examples afterwards, honestly. But yeah, let's move on to the next section for now. So just keep that in mind. HTML recognizes a new page structure. It recognizes what pages have structures, and it now has tags to help also show that in your code as well. So new HTML5 elements. So we've actually already looked at these elements, the video tag and the audio tag, but we didn't know that they were actually just added into HTML5. So there are other ones as well, but here are just the coolest in my opinion. Once again, the video and audio tag. We didn't look at other ones. If you're curious, I can show you right now. I can just search on new tags in HTML. Yeah, so they added a good amount of tags in HTML. I'll show you right now. So just search for new tags in HTML5, and we can see all this. So that article, the aside stuff I was talking about, those are for like the web page structure. We saw audio already. Yeah, they added a bunch of new tags in HTML5 as well. That would be interesting. But yeah, so with that, we also have the removal of some elements as well. So I'm waiting for the slides presentation to load. 1 second. There we go. So yeah, video and audio were new tags that were added into HTML5. And we already saw from the last camp they are pretty useful. So new removal of some tags. So these tags we never talked about, but they were removed just in case if you're curious. So I'm not going to talk about any of them, but yeah, this is just a list of tags that were removed in HTML5. So things being added, some things were also removed. If you're wondering why this is, it's possibly because they didn't really have a use anymore, or maybe that use was replaced with another tag, and that other tag could do even more than this tag could. And yeah. So next, we have some new form input types. So we're going to play around with this as well. We didn't look at this yet. But yeah, HTML5 supports all the new standard form input types, and it adds a few more. So if you remember, those standard input types were the types password. There was password text. There was checkboxes. There was radios. There's like the standard ones we all know about. But they have some new ones as well, like this. So maybe we can actually try playing around with them in a couple seconds. So yeah, we have some new features in the HTML. Oh yeah, these are the ones we're going to be talking about. So video, audio, we already talked about those ones. Navigation section, the header tag, the footer tag, the article tag. So let's go into that, I guess, right now. So the header tag first. So the header tag in HTML is used to define a header for the document section. So this is different from the head tag. In the head tag, we can put stuff like metadata and our links to our other external CSS files and all that type of stuff. So the header tag is different from the head tag. And in the header tag, you usually put image logos, navigation menus, and login areas, and just like the stuff that's going to be at the top of your page. And yeah, once again, it's completely different from the head tag. So the article tag next. So the article tag specifies independent, self-contained content. Articles should make sense on its own and should be possible to distribute independently from the rest of the site. And that's because the article is like the main web page content, right? So if something's outside of the article, maybe it's related to cooking a cake, some type of cake recipe. If something outside of the article, it should not be related to what's within the article. So we shouldn't be seeing things about the cheesecake recipe outside the content, out of the article. So once again, the article is like that main part. It's that section you can cut out and take with it. So hopefully this last point makes more sense. So it should be able to make sense on its own. So yeah, it doesn't need to rely on other parts of the web page. So next is the section tag. So the section tag, as you can probably imagine, is used to define sections in the main page content, which is within the article. The section tag is used when requirements of 2 headers or footers or any other section of the documents is needed. So yeah. So the aside tag. So aside tag defines some aside content from where it's placed. And so yeah, you could have extra stuff on the side. If we're imagining this cake web page still where we have all the recipes for the cake we want, on the aside content, maybe we could have a ingredients list there, and it's just always at the side of our screen. And yeah, so the footer tag. The footer tag defines a footer for the document of a section, and we already know what goes into that, so I can also skip that for now. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go into our text editor, and we're going to look into writing this for ourselves. So if you just give me a second, please, I'm going to take a look at that right now. So let me share my screen properly. There we go. I think my screen should be being shared. Well, let's make sure of that. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to start it again if it's going to take a couple seconds. Just 1 second, please. So yeah, once again, if you have any questions throughout this entire thing, you can put them in chat and I'll do my best to answer them. So let me see. There we go, finally. So we're in our text editor. I told you we're outside of Code Playground now. If you're wondering, once again, I'm using Sublime Text Editor. That's the text editor I'm using. And yeah, so right now I just have a TXT file saved like this, but we need to switch that out to an HTML file. So I actually think my internet might be messing up, and that's why my camera just went off like that. But yeah, okay, looks like it's back now. Anyways, let me open up Solr Code Playground. I'm going to take that basic code they have because once again, I don't want to write it myself. We don't have to go to Solr and we can write it ourselves, but it's just the Doctype declaration and the basic head tag, the body tag, all that basic stuff. So I can just quickly copy and paste it from here and I'll save the work of writing it. And done. So we have our Doctype declaration, our HTML tags, our body tags, and we'll change the page title to HTML Day 9. There we go. So first, let's look at the thing that's probably going to be most fun, which is the new form input types. So let me make sure I see the list of them we have. And we'll see what we can actually do with them. So I just need to pull up the list and we'll play around with them. So we have number, we have time, we have week, we have month, we have range, we have email, we have URL, we have a lot. So first, remember how to create forms in HTML even. We use the form tag. And then inside our form, let's just say we have, well, let me create the closing tag first. So form, and then we'll create our closing tag. And then inside the form, we have just different inputs basically. So let's do input type. Remove name, we don't need that. And then now we need to type in one of these ones. So date time was one of the new ones that was added. So just do date time local first, like that. Let's save this. I actually need to save it as an HTML file. Just go here and let's just make this HTML. So I think I can actually just type it to replace it. So let's see if that worked properly. Yeah, so it saves it as an HTML file, so that's good. Now let's just go like that. And now let's open this up in our browser. So let me see. So datetime local, I bet you have to add more things on top of datetime local to use it. Maybe you have to add more attributes to use datetime local. But let's see if, oh, you guys can't see this. My bad. Let me share my entire screen. Yeah, give me a second. All right, you guys cannot see my entire screen. Okay, there we go. Now you guys can see my entire screen. So this is the place where we're working. This is like our web browser output, and then this is the code place behind us. Anyways, what was I going to say is that we probably have to add more things on top of datetime local. So let's actually, we can actually just search it up quickly. Yeah, let's go like this. HTML5 datetime local, and we'll see how we can use this new one. So it looks like we just type in our actual thing. I know, okay, yeah, so we do have to send some new values, meantime value. Okay, so I'm not too interested in this one. I kind of get how it works. But yeah, let's look at date time. I believe for date time, we really just put in a proper date. So let's save that. Let's have this open here, and then let's refresh it. Check over here quickly. And that's weird stuff. Am I writing the name correctly? Let me make sure. Okay, one second. Let me do a quick search to make sure I'm using it correctly. So yeah, just 1 second. Also, could somebody please type in chat just to make sure that everything's going well, everybody's able to hear me all right, and there's no like issues? Is everybody able to follow along with me so far, or do I need to go repeat something? So yeah, just give me 1 second, please. While I look here. I'm not even sure if I'm editing the right file. But yeah, give me 1 second, please, just so I can do something. This feature, some browsers still might support it. Okay, so it looks like what's it called? Datetime local lost browser support. I'm just reading over here. So I'm looking to see how to use. Let's see. I'm not seeing datetime and datetime local being used anymore for some reason. Let's see. So this is the attribute we're just looking at datetime. Did I spell it correctly? Yeah, I did. Okay, yeah. So let's leave it like that for now. Let's not go too deep into that hole. But yeah, anyways, so I guess I don't know how to use it, or I was reading something about it not being supported in web browsers anymore. But yeah, let's forget about these for now, and let's move on to another one. So let's try a different one. Let's try playing with number, because I know that one. So input type number. Let's save this and then let's run it in our browser. So that is, oh, I hope I was refreshing my browser each time I did it. Let's see. I think I have to reopen the file. 1 second, please. Let me just clean this up so I can see where I am easier. So this is what's important over here. So close this, minimize that, open this up again. Okay, there we go. So this is number. I think we actually played around with this one a bit already, and it pretty much makes it so we can enter in a number here. And we can also just have it go up by pressing on these arrows. So I bet you guys can see that. So I'll zoom in a lot like that. It's just this number in the most basic way. And this is what the code looks like. So we just said input type number. Let's go back here. And yeah. So next, hold on, I actually want to try one last thing, because that datetime thing was actually working before. I'm going to see it if it's outdated on most web browsers, because I remember using it once, and I think it was on Solr. So maybe Solr hasn't updated that yet, but let's just try it. So let's say input type. Let's just say form. And we'll say input type equals datetime. I'll put the closing form tag. If this doesn't work, then I don't know. So run that. No, let's say datetime local. And that. Okay, no, but I remember using this before in the past. That's weird. Anyways, let's just continue on then. So yeah, they're new form input types. So I guess we didn't really get to play too much with them around, unfortunately, today. But maybe next camp I'll go do some more research on what's going on here, and we'll do it quickly at the start of next camp. Anyways, moving on from that, let's look at the new tags I was talking about. So we have header. So once again, header is different from the head tag. The header tag is for putting your head actual content, and that's why it even goes in the body tag as well. So I'll just keep creating my opening and closing tags first, like that. And yeah, so in our header tag, the first thing I'm going to put is maybe a title, and we can also put a navigation bar in there too. So I'll go like this for a nav bar just to represent it. So this is what a nav bar would look like. You can even have a head tag, so I'll just say H1 like that, and we'll have it close off like that as well. So we'll leave that alone for now with our header. We're going to maybe add content afterwards. And then next, after our header, we could have something like article. So an article is going to be our main web page content. So that's the main thing with the page, okay? And then we could have sections in it, which we would use the section tag for, or we could just have the article by itself because we don't really have sections. And then after that, we could put a footer, or we could even put a sidebar. So let's add our article like that. So our article's done like so. And then maybe we'll have a couple sections in here too. So section, and let's have one more section as well. Section like that. So let me space this out a bit so it's easier to read. H1 can be on one line. Put this on 2 lines. I'll put each section on its own line like that. And yeah, so we can see we're kind of like, we're able to now represent even our page structure within our own HTML code. And not only is it just a representation thing, we can actually use these tags in CSS so we can style specific sections, right? And we can even give these classes on top of that, and then we can style those whole sections as well. So it's pretty cool what we can do with this. So next, what I can do is maybe I want a footer now. So footer just looks like this. And then my footer, I could have something like copyright information. I could have details. I could have contact information. Maybe if I have a website and I'm trying to hire people to help me do something with the website, I could have information for where they can contact me there. And yeah, you can just put a lot of information all around the whole thing. So yeah, hopefully that makes a bit of sense. And then we also have the aside. We probably won't be messing with the side, but we have the side like that. And Yeah, so those are pretty much like the new tags, and it's just structure. So I can still put whatever I want within here. It's just that now we have more of a defined structure. And if I were to go back in CSS, I could call on this tag, or I could call on the whole article, and I could change everything within it without affecting the rest of the page. And I could do the same with the other ones. And yeah, so that is those HTML5 tags. One last thing I want to talk about today is I want to show you an example of something maybe we want to do in CSS, and I'll show you a solution on multiple, or I'll show you multiple ways we could actually possibly fix it. So first, I'm going to create two p tags. Let's see, switch it to insert. So let's create our first one, and then let's create our second one. And then in each of these p tags, I'll say this text should be red. And this one should be this text should be blue. So the reason I'm showing you this is because if you guys ever get more curious with HTML, you look like the code pages, you can see why they're using it. There's a tag you're going to see a lot, and I just want to explain to you what that tag is for. But first, let's do this. So this tag should be blue, this tag should be red. So I want to make the tag blue and red. So I could use the attributes. I could say style. But in this case, we don't want to stay style, because imagine this is going to be a lot larger of a web page. So you want to style the entire thing. So possibly I just use internal CSS, or I'd use external CSS. In this case, I'll just use internal. So it's the style tag. Like that. I'll put my closing one too. And then after that, it's what's called? It's after the style tag, it's after style tag is our element name. So it's P in this case. Then we have our curly brackets. And then after that, now I can just put my CSS property, and then I can put in the value. So we're just changing color, and I'll change the color to blue. So, because we want to make this p tag blue, right? But how do we go about also making this one red at the same time? So first, let's run this and test it out. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to look at my browser. I think I keep closing the file or something. Don't need that. Okay, my screen also just stopped sharing. Let me share that back again. I think it's screen 2 I'm sharing. Yep, there we go. So yeah, I think I have to rerun this file again. Sorry, I don't know why it keeps closing, but there we go. So we see that this text should be blue, this text should be red, pops up like this. But I want to make it so that only one of these pops up as blue, and then this other one I can change to be red later, right? So the only way right now that we can think of to do this is just to use the attributes to do this. But later, if I want to go and change it, that's going to be an issue if my web page is larger, as we already know. So here's something else. Maybe I'll make this even more complicated. Maybe I want a whole section of my page to be blue, and I want a whole section to be red, right? Maybe I want something like this. Let's say this text should be, I'll just copy and paste this, honestly. We'll have two. All right, let's look at this first example first. Honestly, I'll show that immediately after. So this text should be red, this text should be blue. So to do this, there's a tag called div, or the most common way to do this is with a tag called div. And pretty much with the div tag, it's just a divider tag. So you can use it to basically divide things, and then with it, you can separate them and have them under different names so you can style them in CSS. And yeah, that's what it's most commonly used for. This can also be used in other language and like JavaScript as well. But for now, we just care about it for CSS. So in the case of CSS, we'll just be using this to basically give it different names under how we want to style it. So you can like divide our code, and we can give things different groups. We can put it under different groups and then give it a name or something. And then we can go style that group by itself, if that makes sense. So in this case, maybe this red tag will be in its own group. I'll use the div tag to do that. So I can say div, and I can say div class. Class is the attribute for it. And I literally just type in a name here. So I want this to be called class of red color P. I'll say, I'll space that out better. I'll say red color P. So this is the name of the class. And then the last thing I have to do now, if it's grouping together, I also have to show where it stops grouping, where it stops taking other stuff. So I just put a closing div tag. So it looks like this. Anyways, let's save this now. And now let's try styling red color P, because now we created this class. So to style a class in HTML, it's not the same way we style an element. We don't just type in the name of it. So we don't just type in red color P. We have to put a dot at the front of it. And this basically represents that it's a class, okay? And in this case, this is also a class. So I'm gonna put my curly brackets, and then inside here now I can type whatever I want, just as if it was a normal thing, because now I'm just styling it, right? So I'll say color equals red. So first, let's even make sure this works. So let's take this out for now. I'll copy it just so we can get it back in later. Let's save it, and then let's run it. So actually, I think I can just minimize this to see the output. So I'll do this, and we see it does work. Instead of saying we wanted to style the P tag, because in here we didn't say style the P tag, we said red color P. So instead of just styling the whole element, we just styled red color P. And then if we had multiple P tags in here, if I had this multiple times, like this, or I had different text, or I had the H1 tag, just any different text really, this was also be colored in the style, or this would also be colored red, I should just say. And yeah, so maybe I also want to have a special thing for this one. I can create a div class for it as well. But usually the way we see div classes being used is just big, larger parts, not just text like this, but larger things being grouped together just so they can all be styled in the same way. So maybe, and for example, maybe I want to give something padding on my web page, a whole section. I could push it all aside together so everything's pushed together by just putting it all under the same class. Or maybe later in my code, I want something to have the same style information as something else. I can simply just give it the same class. So if the class already exists and I already styled it, later in my code, I can write div class red color P again, and then it will have that style information for red color P. And if it was like another language, it'll also have like the scripting information for it as well. So hopefully that makes sense. And then to solve that problem, you can imagine we could just create a new class for this one. And yeah, we can just call this a div class, whatever we want. So it doesn't need to be this long. It can just be something like short, like this, that's shorter. It could be anything we want, the name of our class, but that's what we call them when we put that period in front in CSS. So the reason I even talked about that is because if you look at a lot of web pages, the code behind them, they usually have a lot of div tags because they have a lot of different dividers for different things. So you'll see a lot of div tags being used. And yeah, so with that being said, honestly, we might wrap up today's camp. We covered a good amount of things. We covered the new things in HTML5, and we also, I guess, learned about the div tag today and what we might see on some web pages, just to clear up any confusions. Let me check this chat. Okay, so yeah, I think we're gonna wrap that up for today's camp. I want to thank you guys for joining me. As you might know, or maybe you don't know, we're getting close to the end of this entire camp as a whole. Tomorrow is going to be day 10. It's going to be our last camp day. But I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Hopefully I'll see you next camp. And yeah, thank you for joining once again. So yeah, with that being said, my name is Adere, and peace.